everyone, and welcome back to Dev After Dark. I'm your host, Dev, and as always, I'm being joined live via Skype by my co-host, Matty Montez. Hey, Matty, how's it going?
Good to be back.
Good to have you. So, we had a great show last week, our debut episode, and I want to take a moment to sincerely thank anyone and everyone who took the time to check out the episode, and the messages that I received were so nice, and they were really, really appreciated, and they really made the hard work that went into it feel worth it. So we're going to continue to try to build on that momentum and hopefully deliver an even better show this week. But first, for those of you that haven't already, like this video and subscribe by clicking the bell icon to get notified of any new content that gets released. You can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter at ThatDamnDevin, and follow the show on Facebook at Dev After Dark. And if you're at work and YouTube isn't allowed, no worries. We're also available on podcast platforms such as Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Spreaker Podcast Radio app. And we're working on getting onto more platforms so you can enjoy this show no matter where you listen to your podcasts. All right.
How fancy.
I know. And if we're not on a platform that you want to listen to us on, shoot us a message, let us know, and we will try to get that worked out because we want to make ourselves as accessible as humanly possible. So this is kind of a one-topic episode this week. We're going to be discussing some reality TV, and it's a story that is laced with racial tension, and quite frankly, it pissed me off a little bit. And I know you feel pretty strongly about it as well, Matty. So what do you say we get started with our hot topics?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Okay, so first up, I want you guys to take a look at this photo.
Well...
Oh, nope, not that.
Just as I
thought.
thought.
Not what we wanted.
Trash.
That is not what we wanted. This is what we wanted. Yes. This is the cast of the 21st season of Big Brother. Looks like your average cast, right? Pretty run-of-the-mill, normal, typical cast for a season. Now I want you to take a look at this photo. This photo is of the very first 3 contestants eliminated from this season's show. So we have to your left, we have Kimmy, we have Ovie in the middle, and then we have David with the yellow bandana on. And if you notice, they all have something in common, aside from them all being eliminated, that is. Why don't you clue people in as to what that similarity is, Matty?
Well, they're all wearing the same shirt.
Okay.
No, just kidding. They're literally the only 3 minorities cast this season, and they're the first 3 out.
Well, no.
Literally.
No, not the only 3. There's also...
Oh, true. I forgot Bella. My bad.
There's also Bella, and I guess you can include Jessica in that. But Jessica, by her own admission, while I believe is a Latina, she said, she claims to be white passing. She says she could dye her hair blonde and pop in some blue contacts, and you would never know the difference. And that point is debatable, but the 3 most obviously ethnic people in the house, being Kimmy.
Well,
why is that video still
just
there?
as I
don't
thought.
understand.
Trash.
Kimmy, Ovie, and David are black and brown and still not allowed in the game anymore. So we're going to talk about why that is. I hold 2 specific people responsible, and those 2 people are these 2. Jack to your left and Jackson, also known as Mitchie, or is it Mickey?
I think Mickey.
Okay, Mickey. Then there's Mickey to your right. Now, both are awful human beings. Like, terrible, terrible, terrible human beings. And this episode is basically going to illustrate why that is. Um, so first off, why don't you tell everyone what your first impressions of these two were when you first saw them?
Yeah, so I always watch the preseason interviews that Jeff does, which, that's a whole other story why they let an open homophobe continue to host this preseason interview thing. But I saw your stereotypical beefcake, jockey looking, one's a country boy, one looks like he's from California and models. And, I just automatically assume probably your standard gold star douchebag right there.
I mean, safe assumption.
There's one every season, sometimes two.
Yeah. It's like they intentionally cast him because that he's going to generate some sort of drama. He's going to be problematic in some way. I mean,
And the funny thing is that
we had Caleb in BB16. We could. I don't want to go through every season and name every douchebag. That would take us too long. There's been 21 seasons, if you don't count, Canada and the rest of the world. But what about? So, what were your first impressions? Let's just take a step back. What were your first impressions of the 3 castmates that are now eliminated? Spoiler alert: Kimmy, Ovie, and David.
Well, I thought Ovie was freaking adorable at first. He's this
He
little
was.
SGA president. He's, kind of nerdy, really cute. And apparently he has like a really hot girlfriend, which is like so
She's
awesome. I'm like, you
freaking
better score,
gorgeous.
Ovie.
She's
So I really
freaking
liked
gorgeous.
Ovie. I actually did a draft with one of my friends, and I had a prediction that Ovie would win the season. Haha, the gag's on me, but not happening. And then I thought David was really cool. I feel like, trying to think of how to say this. I feel like lots of times when they are casting people of color, they go for very stereotypical angles especially when they cast black men, where they're either super religious or they're very similar to how Swaggy was last season.
Mm-hmm.
And what I really enjoy about David's interview is he seemed to be like his own person. Like he wasn't a stereotype that Big Brother always seems to cast and portray people of color as. And I was very excited to see how things would play out for him on screen. And Kimmy I really enjoyed because, she seemed like a firecracker. She was hilarious in her interviews, and she was actually kind of quiet. And I was like, there's so much mystery with her. I wondered what she was going to bring to the game. Like you could tell she might have been like a bit of a mastermind and really understand what's going on. So I really enjoyed the 3 of them at first.
Yeah. I really, really, really liked Ovie and Kimmy coming in. I wasn't so fond of David at the end, if only because you can tell that he was more concerned with getting in with certain people than he was about kind of standing up for himself and his fellow camp comebackers. Also known as Camp Minority on Twitter, because
so sad.
the worst. So let's talk about Camp Comeback. Explain to everyone listening how Camp Comeback works.
Yeah, so they've kind of done something similar before in previous seasons where it's like the first few people evicted get to battle back to come in the house. So David was immediately eliminated on night 1 due to a challenge, and we'll get into that later. So he was eliminated, and then Ovie was eliminated, and then Kimmy was eliminated, and then there was an older white man named Cliff who was eliminated 4th, and the 4 of them, each time they were eliminated, they still got to live in the house. They didn't leave. They had their own bedroom. They had to wear a scout uniform like they were at camp, but they were still able to play a social game. They just technically weren't in the game, and they couldn't vote, and they couldn't compete in competitions. Well, once the 4th person was voted out, we had 4 of them. Last night, they competed in a challenge to see which one of them would be able to get back in the game, and that obviously was Cliff, and sadly, our 3 faves were kicked out.
Now, a large part of Twitter, I don't want to say everyone, but a large part of Twitter was really, really rooting for Kimmy, Ovie, and David, one of them, to get back in the game. I think it's safe to say that no one really wanted, unless you were like a friend or a family member of Cliff, I don't think anyone truly wanted Cliff to come back into the game. He was kind of a non-issue, So, and he had already been caught doing his Cliff Notes thing. So it was just a matter of time before he was chucked out, like most older house guests are. They typically go
Mm-hmm.
home relatively quickly. Um, Now, I was really hoping that Kimmy would come back. However, obviously that didn't work out. Um, but now we have ourselves in a really weird situation where we, as viewers at home, a lot of whom watch the live feeds, which are 24 hours a day. Um, so unless they're doing like a competition or something, in which case they cut the feeds and or whatnot. But we're all privy to things that casual viewers are not, because
Mm-hmm.
the production at Big Brother, for whatever reason, feels it necessary to protect certain cast members from being exposed for some of the things that they've said and done, even though more dedicated viewers are already aware of what's going on, and it's kind of been put out all over social media as of late, which is kind of why we're talking about it. But even still, it wasn't until just this week that we got even the slightest of negative edits for these people. Now, when I know you're probably wondering, well, Dev, what kind of stuff could they possibly have been doing that was so awful? Well, they've been saying some really horrible things, some really, really terrible things.
Are you saying you have receipts, Dev?
I do have receipts. So what I'm going to play for you right now is a clip of Jack and Jackson discussing house guest David, who, mind you, since the very beginning of this game, has been a camp comebacker. He has not been in the game at all. So he's of no real threat to these people, but yet they still make it a point to say some really awful things about him. Listen to this, and then we'll talk about it.
Someone plays chess and not checkers. I'm gonna beat him in his own game. I'm gonna beat him in his own game. He hates dirty dishes. Guess what? I'm gonna pile that sink up. He's gonna piss on the sink and people notice it. I'm gonna piss him for a little bit. Just a little thing sitting there. I'm not gonna let him get under my skin. I won't fuck with him. I'll fucks with him. Working from the inside out. He won't last.
Now, some of you might not have caught that, so I'm going to play it for you again. Now, what you should be listening for is they're discussing trying to rile up David, or trying to kind of cause issues for David. Now, there have been meetings between not just Jack and Jackson, but the house at large, excluding those camp comebackers that I referred to a bit ago. They've been holding meetings talking about how horrible David is, how toxic he is, how dangerous he is, how horrible Kimmy is, and the like. Mind you, these people are not doing anything wrong. They're just merely existing. Jackson here says he's not going to let this guy get under his skin. He doesn't mess with N-words, and he uses the hard R. And if you don't believe me, I'm gonna play it back for you and let you hear it one more time. So listen to this.
Someone plays chess and not checkers. I'm gonna beat him in his own game. I'm gonna beat him in his own game. He hates dirty dishes. Guess what? I'm gonna pile that sink up. He's gonna piss on the sink and people notice it. I'm gonna piss him for a little bit. Just a little thing sitting there. I'm not gonna let him get under my skin. I won't fuck with him. I'll fucks with him. Working from the inside out. He won't last. No.
Now, house guests have gotten into trouble for a lot of things. I feel like this should have been one of them, don't you?
Yes. I mean, you can so he says it like so fast because, well, here's the thing. When you're in that house, I think people truly forget that they're mic'd up. But he was doing it in that really fast, subtle way. So he knew he was saying the word, but that we wouldn't catch it on the feed. But we always catch it on the feed. We hear every single thing they say. And this doesn't surprise me. In his very first, segment they showed of him on the show, he's seen, shooting a gun. He's from a very country area. He has that mentality of that he's this alpha male who's better than anyone. And I mean, I just think negative views, people of color, clearly brought them in the house. It's why he targeted David. It's why he constantly said terrible things about him. And it's truly disgusting that we're giving these people a platform to be contestants on a reality show and continue to spew these hateful views.
When I heard it, because I didn't watch the feeds. I haven't been watching the feeds this season. I felt like the season's been kind of trash from the beginning, just with how
it sucks.
Yeah, just with how everything's been going down. And then also on top of that, the knowledge that things were happening that pretty significant things were happening in the house that CBS or Big Brother just did not want to acknowledge. That rubbed me the wrong way. So I haven't really been watching the feeds, but when I heard about this, it was on Twitter, and I saw the quote first, and I was like, there is no way. Like, there is no way someone said that, and they are still on the show. That is not even a possibility. And I was wrong. He very clearly said it, and that's not even the end of it, and that's the worst part. So that was just a little taste of the type of stuff they were saying. This is another thing. While we're on David, I want to show you another remark that they made, actually, about Ovie. And Ovie, like you said earlier, he's just the nicest, sweetest guy. Like, why Ovie? Like,
so adorable.
Why pick on Ovie of all people? Why even bother doing something like that? So take a look at Jack talking to Ovie, because throughout the course of this game, Ovie had genuinely tried to get in with the house, like the larger group that kind of banded together and excluded everyone else. I want to say there's probably about 9-10 of them that did it, Cliff included. At one point, they all got together and decided that they were going to make messes around the Big Brother house and pin it on David, so that when the show aired and everyone was complaining about these messes and how the house was so dirty and blah, 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 it would all get blamed on David and he would just look really bad. Now, mind you, at this point, David is not a player in the game. He is in Camp Comeback. His game is only social. He can't make any moves. He can't vote. He can't do anything, really. But yet, they still think of him as such a threat that they have to kind of make these issues where there are none. And some of these things are just, some of the things that they say and do are just so petty, and that's where we are with this. Take a look.
So those are like...
Dude, I can't stand it, bro. Can we just get rid of him this week?
No, we've got him. I've got him eating out of my hand, dude. I can push his boat wherever the fuck I want.
Why? How do you figure? Are you and him boys?
He's just a good... He just fucking loves me, dude. No matter how much shit I give him, he fucking loves
Maybe
me.
he respects you like that.
He's probably scared if he were so. Or like he wishes he could be you. Same.
Blue flame.
What do you think?
Brown flame.
Oh, Jesus.
So I guess one of Jack's things is saying like flame on or whatever. And you heard one of the house guests say blue flame. And then in reference to Ovie, Jack says brown flame and makes that face because he knows he said something that maybe he shouldn't have said. He wouldn't have had that reaction had he not said something that he felt that he shouldn't have said.
Mm-hmm.
So then, just let's go back to Ovie really quick because I feel so bad for him. There have been a lot of little things that Jack would say about Ovie. Things like, like in the clip you just saw, maybe he'll do anything I want him to do. I can push his vote anywhere I want. People are like, oh, he wants to be you. Oh, he just wants to be your friend. Blah 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 blah, and all that could be true, but to say it out loud, to be on national television and think so highly of yourself that you feel like you could talk to and about people the way you do is just like the grossest thing. But I'm gonna show you another, as if I needed to show you another clip of Jack being a dick to Ovie, and we'll talk about this.
You feeling swole right now, boss?
It's a little bit rough.
You look a little swole.
Well, like, why? Like, why would you compliment someone to their face and then behind their back call them a douche? This guy has been nothing but nice to you.
He's a bully. That's what happens when bullies get older. They continue being bullies. He found someone who, wasn't a usual alpha type male, person of color, someone kind of nerdy and quirky, and he made him his target. That's what bullies do, and it's gross. It's disgusting. I don't know why CBS allows it. I don't know why the producers allow it. I don't know why they keep casting people like this. It's disgusting.
I think that the reason Jack is acting the way he's acting, and Jackson as well, Mickey as well, first off, David, like I said, wasn't in the game from the start. So he's in a situation where he should seem pretty vulnerable, right? Like he should, that's kind of a weakened position to be in. Like you're kind of involved in the game, but not really involved in the game. And then they targeted Ovie, who's just such a sweet and nice guy. Like he doesn't seem to have a negative bone in his body. So he already kind of gives the impression that he's someone that can kind of be run all over. And the fact that he kept trying to get in with them didn't help Ovie's situation at all. But then there's Kimmy, who I think she had it worse than just about anyone else. And I didn't have time to get all of the videos and stuff that I wanted to get for the Kimmy stuff. But let me just run through a few of the things that has been going on in the house as far as Kimmy's concerned. A group of the girls got together, and we're discussing how Kimmy's just this toxic person. She's the worst. She's been referred to as a cancer that needs to be cut out of the house. Mind you, Kimmy is probably the most calm, rational person in the house.
And she's quiet. She hardly talks to anyone. Like she hardly mixed it up with anyone. Like she was fine.
Partly because they wouldn't allow her to interact with anyone. Jack, king of the house, decided to make a rule that said that no one was allowed to talk game with any of the camp comebackers, which put them at a severe disadvantage because if they can't talk game with anyone, if they were to make it back into the game, they would be on their own still. Like no one would be aligned with them because no one was allowed to talk to them in that capacity. Now it didn't necessarily go down that way. That I know Sam talked a little bit of game with Kimmy, but every time you turned around, there was something negative being said about Kimmy, despite Kimmy not really doing anything. The girl could breathe, and the house would have a meeting about how terrible she was. And CBS didn't do her any favors by giving her what seemed to be kind of a bitch edit.
Yep, they absolutely did.
They gave her a bitch edit when, if anyone in the house was least deserving of it, I would say it would be Ovie and then Kimmy. But yet here we are, the lone black woman in the house, once again being portrayed as a bitch or a villain, when in reality it's Jack who's saying things like, I want to stomp a mud hole in Kimmy. Like, or him saying that he wants to mule kick, I believe it was David, in the mouth or something like that. And like, just awful, terrible things.
And Nick talked about spitting on her too.
Yes, Nick. Yes, another house
Awful.
guest. Another house guest, Nick, said that he wanted to spit right between her eyes or something. Like, just really vile, disgusting things. And it wasn't until this week that the casual fans, the general public, got kind of a glimpse. It was just the smallest of glimpses comparatively to what's been going on in the house.
And it was because Nicole, this really sweet, nerdy white girl, was the victim of them. That's why they showed it. They didn't care when it was the minorities.
It was the saddest thing. You would think that they would have been like, oh, wow, like this is going, because they've already done enough to separate themselves as far as the views of the house guests, don't reflect, our beliefs, or we don't condone anything, blah, 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 whatever. But yet you would think that they'd be like, okay, well, let's air this all out. Like, rather than covering it up, actively covering it up, because like, how else are you going to explain why the house is targeting Kimmy, David, and Ovie? Like, that's part of the reason. That's why I think they gave Kimmy the bitch edit. They wanted to justify, justify her being targeted and her being ostracized from the rest of the group. And it just didn't do that for me. Like, even if I didn't know what was going on, I'd be like, wait a minute, like, you show this one little, clip of her seemingly being a bitch, but really the house had been kind of pushing her and she'd been biting her tongue. Kimmy is a friggin' saint. I could not have had people talk down to me the way that Jack talks down to Kimmy. He confronted her about having a protein shaker in the fridge when no one else had their protein shakes in the fridge. Like, it's just like, and he was so condescending, and the way
he's like, what makes you so special? Yeah. Like, that's literally what he said. And like, who talks to someone like that? I'd be like, who the fuck are you talking to right now?
And Kimmy, to her credit, just sat there. Like, what is he gonna do? Vote her out again? Like, she could have, knowing that this was, she had a 25% chance of getting back into that house, right? The odds were greater that she was going to go home this week. I would not have blamed her if she, one by one, read each and every house guest to filth.
I wish she did.
She would have been completely justified. But even after her elimination, even after all of them were eliminated, they sat on that stage with Julie Chen, and they gave really pageant girl answers as to why things went down the way they did. They're
too nice.
They had private and what's crazy is they had private conversations amongst themselves and with Nicole and with Jessica about how there seemed to be some sort of racial tension between the controlling faction known as Grateful to them, hateful to the rest of the world. There seems to be some tension between those two groups, because it doesn't matter. Like I said, it didn't matter what any of them did. They were constantly being talked about or being talked down to. And it was just really disgusting. And I wish I personally wish that they handled it the way that they handled the the three from Big Brother UK, Danielle, Jade Goody, and Joe from S Club 7. Now, those three were on the Celebrity Big Brother edition of Big Brother in the UK a few years ago, a couple years ago. And there was a house guest by the name of Shilpa. And Shilpa was this very elegant, very beautiful, calm, dignified woman, right? And
she's gorgeous.
Yeah, gorgeous. And she just happened to be from India. I believe she was a actress there or something. And the things that these three women said about her were so racist and hateful that they had to pull Jade out of the house. The young lady in the middle there, they pulled her out of the house because the things that she was saying was causing international incident. People in India were upset. People in the UK were upset. And Big Brother UK did a really, really good job, in my opinion, of really holding them over the fire. And I say, if you're going to go out on a show like this and you're going to say outrageous things like this, you should probably be prepared for a shitstorm when you walk out of the house. And Jade walked into just that. To her credit, she put her hands up and said, I said all of those things. They're horrible. They sound racist. I'm not a racist, but I understand why people would think that I am, because all the things that I said were disgusting. I'm ashamed of myself. And if people hate me, I completely understand because I deserve it after saying those things.
What were some of the things that she said, by the way?
Okay, so there's, I can't pronounce the word, but I know there's like it amounted to I guess a slur against Indian people. When saying that she couldn't pronounce her name and it was just like confusing or whatever. And then Danielle and Joe, they got together and there was an incident where Shilpa, she's upper crust, she's a little bougie, so like she's not used to things like cooking and stuff like that. So she tried cooking for the house, and the chicken was a little raw in the middle. It was undercooked, and you would have thought that she had murdered the firstborn of everyone in the house. And well, not everyone, just those three. And they said little things like, "Oh, so gross. Like, do they really eat with their hands in India? I bet that's why they're all so skinny, because they're always sick because they don't know how to cook their food."
Oh, Jesus, that's
like just
awful,
awful things. And just the way in which they would go about talking to her, they would, especially Jade. Jade would just yell at her and talk down to her and curse at her, and it was uncomfortable to watch. I couldn't imagine being in the house with her because just watching it made me feel so uncomfortable. I rolled my seat back a little bit away from my computer when I was watching, because I was like, ugh, so gross. But then they pulled her out of the house, and the host of Big Brother really did a really good job of making her answer for the things that she said and did. Like I said, Jade was really, really good about owning up to the things that she said. The other two, not so much. Joe immediately went to I can't be racist because I have Indian cousins in my family, or something like that. And it's
textbook excuse.
Yeah. And Danielle, the woman to your right, to your left, she went and said, "Oh, well, I'm just a follower." So as if that's a good enough excuse. Oh, well, I'm just a follower. I kind of got pushed into those things. I didn't really think what I was doing was all that wrong, and blah blah blah. All stuff that you typically hear out of a racist when they're trying to explain away how racist they are. But like I keep saying, Big Brother handled it so well. They really grilled them. They made them sit and watch the things that they said in a compilation. They made them sit and watch a compilation of all these news outlets talking about the situation. And I feel like Big Brother, not since Big Brother, was it 15? Yeah, Big Brother 15.
That was the really racist season.
With Aaron and Gina Marie. Not since that season has Big Brother really, Julie Chen specifically, really go for it and make them answer for the things that they say in the house that maybe are problematic. Because I remember even the next season, Frankie Grande said some pretty questionable things. And so did Caleb. So it was but yet those things kind of got glossed over. Now they have this rule ever since, I believe it was BB16 when Christine was eliminated. Now I don't even think you're allowed to boo them as they're walking out of the house anymore. So that leads me to question, how are they going to handle this? If the fans aren't allowed to react to them in a natural way that lets them know, hey, we're on to you, we know what's going on. And if you're not going to edit them in a way, because now that all the camp comebackers are gone, how are you going to expose what they had been doing prior to this? You know what I mean? They're gone now.
Well, sadly, I think they're going to get away with it because people have to remember, 70% of the viewing audience for Big Brother only watch the show and only watch the episodes, meaning the edits by CBS. 30% watch the live feeds or on social media, understand that aspect. So they're thinking as long as the majority of our viewers haven't seen this, they're out of the house now, there's no reason to talk about it. Now, if there keeps being a strong social media pushback, maybe when Jack and Jackson and Nick are all evicted, Julie will ask about it, like she did do with Aaron and Cody and BB19. I think she did with him as well. But if we stay quiet and we just excuse this, they're just going to gloss over it like they do with all other things that are controversial.
What I worry about is what kind of message is Big Brother and CBS sending when you don't outright ask the people of color? Because speaking as a person of color myself, I can tell you that sometimes it is really uncomfortable as the person of color in the room to bring up the racial tension in the room, because especially when you're kind of outnumbered like that, it's really easy for people to turn around and go, oh, he's playing the race card. Oh, everything's about race. Oh, yeah, of course you'd say that they're racist because you're sitting on the outside of the house right now. But when you have all three of the darkest people on the cast sitting out there at one time, how can you not address that elephant in the room?
It's not a coincidence.
It's not. It's not. How can you not address that? I don't understand how more people aren't upset by it. Casual viewers, okay, great. If you're on social media and you search through that BB12 BB After Dark tag, there's no way you cannot encounter this information. So why are people not as upset as they should be? A lot of blogs are talking about it, but you don't see any real major outlets talking about it. But if saying the N-word and making these racial remarks, and there's a video that I had, oh my gosh, I'm regretting not including it right now because it would perfectly illustrate the just twisted mindset of Jack. They're talking about David. I think they point out that David's on camera somewhere, and Jack jumps up and starts walking around the room like he's an ape or something.
Oh my God.
And it was the most baffling thing. I was like, how is no one else in this room? He wasn't even, I don't even think was he the HOH that week? I don't even remember, but like, it's like, how
I think he was, yeah.
Okay, cool. Maybe you don't call him out because he's HOH, but even then, like, you're a coward. You are a coward if you don't have the decency to say, like, because they had no problem saying, hey man, you might want to watch what you say. Like, they had no problem saying that amongst each other when, you know, they were talking about Kimmy and stomping a mud hole in her and how much Jack absolutely hates her. Like, he went on about, oh, I hate her so much, she's the worst, blah blah blah, like, I fucking can't stand her. And then, you know, I believe it was Christy was like, oh well, maybe you shouldn't hate her. And he's like, oh well, like, game wise, I don't hate her as a person, but game wise, what do you mean game wise? She hasn't played the game. She hasn't played the game. She is no threat to you. Like, why are you so pressed? Like, I don't know if it's that he dislikes black people or if he really, really wants to get in Kimmy's pants and he just doesn't know what to do with himself, because I've never seen someone so obsessed over a person who wasn't like in love with them.
It's so weird.
Just throwing it out
it's
there.
funny. At the beginning of all of this, when it was happening at the beginning of the season, I was like, why can't they just cast a cast that reflects America? Why do they got to find these awful people? Why do they got to? And then I stopped, and like, I think it was a week or two ago, and I was like, you know what? Maybe this is the point. Maybe this cast does reflect America. People who stand by when offensive and racial things are said and don't do anything because they don't want to get their hands messy.
Jessica?
You know, people who say racist comments and think it's nothing. Yeah, and people who claim to be allies and then don't stand up for it. So
laying in bed on the feeds with David, flirting, you know, talking about the showmance that she knew was never really going to happen, but still, you know, I guess she thought he was cute enough to keep it going. She was totally flirting with him and whatnot. But then the moment the gang was talking shit, she was right there with them talking shit. Cliff, same deal. People are so excited that, you know, he's back in the game. Don't know why. And now that, you know, he's apparently targeting, spoiler alert, now that he's apparently targeting Jack and Jackson.
And can I just say, Jack is his main target this week, and a good portion of the house, like Nick and Bella, are getting on board. So hallelujah if we could get him out this week.
I mean, I'm just waiting for a point when everyone can start thinking for themselves and playing their own game instead of listening to these two alphas in the house, which in reality is only making everyone else, it's only bringing out the worst in everyone else. Because now you have people who aren't necessarily as bad as Jack and Jackson saying things that are really horrible because they feel like they're in an environment where it's okay. Because the people at the top are doing it, so why can't everyone else? Annalise says horrible things. Holly says horrible things. Christy says horrible things. Nick talking about how he wants to spit in Kimmy's face. Now, of course, Kimmy blew up his game after he admitted to trying to blow up hers. But yet he's took everything so personally, and now, like, he would say these really awful things about her. Bella would say horrible things about her, but Bella doesn't know how to keep her mouth shut, so she says whatever runs through her mind. So it's like, now we have an issue where this cast just is unredeemable, in my opinion. Like, there's not a single cast member left, with the exception of maybe Nicole. And I do
like Nicole.
I like Nicole because when no one else was talking to Kimmy, Nicole was there.
She was her friend. Mm-hmm.
And she made it very clear. She's like, yeah, like, I'm close with Kimmy. Like, I like Kimmy. Like, she knowing that would probably put her at odds with the house at large, she still sided with her, which I gotta give her mad credit for. So if there's one person in that friggin' house that I want to win, it should be Nicole. Everyone else, I don't. Bleh, 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 bleh. Oh wait, no. Now's the perfect time for this. Actually, what I think about this year's cast.
Well, just as I thought, trash.
Yep.
Perfectly
Trash.
said.
Trash. It came a little early, but that was your foreshadowing that we were going to be talking about some straight up garbage pail people. Like just
What's funny
horrible.
is that there have been seasons like 16 and 19 where like they're going to be awful from the start, and you're like, okay, I'm hunkering down for the ride. Like this is going to be a shit show. And this, I've never seen it start so early with a season before than this season. This is only the 4th week, and I already feel like it's one of the worst ever.
We're gonna have to disagree just a little bit because I actually enjoyed season 16.
Did you?
I did. I actually enjoyed season 16 because I liked people like I loved Zach, and I really I liked, and a lot of people didn't like it. Looking back, hindsight, he wasn't my person to win originally, but I'm glad that Derek won because he won in such a boss, like he really lived up to the hitman like name. He was right there in the shadows the entire time. He knew exactly who his targets were. He knew exactly how to get rid of them, and one by one by one, he got them all eliminated and found himself sitting there at the end. And I honestly think that Cody made a huge mistake in taking Derek rather than taking Victoria. But at the same time, I probably would have voted for Victoria if it came down to Cody and Victoria, because it would serve you right. It would serve you right to go through all of that, turn on as many people as you turned on, only to take Victoria to the final. Oh, I would give Victoria that money to be spiteful in a heartbeat. But that's just me. So any closing thoughts on this? Because honestly, I am.
I think you said it best.
What do you want to see? What do you want to see? Big Brother do from here? What could they do to redeem themselves in your eyes?
I think that here's what I think. If you can break up Grateful and get Jack or Jackson out this week, so one alpha gone, and then if Nick and Bella and all the bottom of the totem pole people get with the outsiders like Nicole, Cliff, Kat, Jessica, and if they start targeting Holly, Jackson, Annalise to get them out, then it levels, from a game view, it levels the playing field a little bit, and it makes it more exciting than just one big alliance dominating the whole time,
But also it gets rid of the racists.
Yeah, and that too. So, but I, like you said, I just think it's going to be very hard to fix this season because I think it is going to be a very straight line kind of season, but we'll just have to see. And we'll see if the offensive comments continue. It'll be interesting what they say next, honestly. I just want Jack gone so bad.
I wouldn't be surprised if they started using racial epithets towards Bella or Jessica at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, one thing I forgot, I'll say this really quick before I leave. Not only is Jack a racist, but he also just, like, I feel like genuinely hates women because he said, he made a comment about Jessica and her body. And he was like, oh yeah, well, sometimes I'll just flirt with her to make her feel good about herself.
Oh, like, Jesus.
What? And then I believe it was, I'm not sure if it was Jack or if it was Jackson. I believe it was Jack because Jack is horrible. Who made a comment like, oh yeah, girls like Nicole don't usually get to talk to guys like me.
Oh my God, I didn't hear that.
Like,
Jesus.
What? Like
they're misogynistic pigs.
I encourage you all to go to Twitter and look this up because I want to find me on Twitter. I will post the link to the thread. I'll share the thread for all the horrible offenses that these people have committed throughout the course of this season so far. Because mind you, we're like, what, 31 days in or something? Like,
Can I just say one more thing real fast?
Yeah.
CBS is gonna kind of start paying for this because these ratings for Big Brother are at an all-time low right now.
And
so
no surprise.
money talks.
Well,
For sure.
Money talks.
just as I thought.
Trash.
Trash.
Trash, 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 trash. These people are all trash. That's all I've got to say about it. Next week, we're going to have... we were very entertainment focused tonight, obviously. Next week, it's going to be a lot more political, so come with that in mind.
Get your popcorn.
Get your popcorn ready. We're going to be talking about Trump. We're going to follow up on Epstein. We're going to talk about the send her back comments, Ilhan Omar, and all of that. Plus
Mueller time.
Yeah, plus Mueller time. And we're going to give you a preview of the upcoming Democratic debates. So, Matty, thank you again for joining me. I really appreciate you.
A pleasure as always, Dev. Thanks for having me.
Next week, we're going to be a little more concise and a little more together. It's been a crazy week. You actually leave for a trip tomorrow.
Yes, going to Iceland.
Yeah, and I have been all over the place. I'm a mess. Sorry, you guys. But I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Find me on Instagram and Twitter at ThatDamnDevin and tell me what you think of this season of Big Brother. Who do you like? Who do you not like? How would you have liked to have seen Camp Comeback go down? Do you think Big Brother is going to feel the effects of this backlash from social media over the way things have gone down? Matty, tell everyone where they can find you on social media.
Yes, you can follow me on Twitter at Matty Montez.
Okay, so once again, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe by clicking the bell notification so you never miss an episode of Dev Talks. Well, Dev After Dark. Dev Talks is the podcast. And catch us next week right here on YouTube for another episode of Dev After Dark. Have a great night.